Hi everyone, today we finally have our hands on with of course the OnePlus 10 Pro Global Edition, because we already saw it of course in China. So these are my first impressions, but not a full review. I haven't used it long enough to give you a proper review about the device and what I think about it so far. There are some things that I've noticed in the time that I've been using it, but overall these are just first impressions and I don't want to give a full review on the device I haven't used long enough. Either way, the OnePlus 10 Pro, I think straight away what we should talk about is of course the design itself. There are quite a bit of changes when it comes to the design layout, and of course the biggest part about it is of course the camera layout. So let's discuss. In terms of renders, I thought it looked weird and I didn't necessarily like it. In real life I don't think it's the most beautiful kind of design, but I have to say that I like it far better in real life, and you probably still will think the same because you're seeing it on a video. But in real life, I really like it better. And the contrast between this green and of course the ceramic looking black is beautiful. I think those colors work really well together. And I think that makes it stand out a lot more. I think in black it just looks a bit more standard. In this one, I really do like it. Of course, with the camera setup, we still get that Hasselblad collaboration, but sadly not really hardware features that we would like to see when it comes to this Hasselblad collaboration. For one, I would have liked to see a shutter button, especially when you work with a brand like Hasselblad. And then have that of course colored in their color. So let's quickly talk about the camera setup just in general. Of course we do have three sensors here, just like the OnePlus 9 Pro. The main sensor is a Sony IMX789 with a sensor size of 1/143 inches. It's a 48 megapixel sensor, and of course you do have optical image stabilization and of course electrical stabilization as well, with an aperture of 1.8. The ultra-wide is a Samsung ISOCELL GN1 with a 1/2.7 inch sensor size, and of course 50 megapixels just like before, with a max field of view of 150 degrees. The telephoto lens is sadly only an 8 megapixel resolution, but it is a 3.3 times zoom. For the front-facing camera we have a Sony IMX615 with a resolution of 32 megapixels and of course electrical image stabilization. Max video recording is at 8K and 24 frames per second. You can record 4K and 30 frames per second up to 120 frames per second. And of course when it comes to slow motion you have 1080p and 240 frames per second and 720p at 480 frames per second. So in terms of camera it does feel very similar to the previous generation, and we're gonna find out how it performs compared to it. I don't have the Pro, so I cannot compare it to the Pro when it comes to the 9 Pro, but I do have the regular OnePlus 9, so we're gonna find out how it compares probably in a camera test between the two. Just depends a little bit on the weather and time that I have at the moment. But overall I will have to say that the camera department, I would have liked to see for instance an upgrade for the telephoto. It's an 8 megapixel resolution, you know, have something where it's a little bit higher. I think that would have been really nice to see on the camera. And of course, as stated, a little bit of integration with of course Hasselblad. We do have an integration though when it comes to the software experience. Just like before, you do have some filters and so on from Hasselblad. You have the Pro mode combined with of course what Hasselblad does and so on. So in terms of that you do have some integration, but I would have liked to see just that little bit more when it comes to it. Overall the device so far seems like a solid one. There are a lot of phones currently that have problems with Android. Now this one isn't excluded for that. There's just one weird thing that I've noticed with it, is when I play YouTube videos, sometimes the YouTube video plays slow and then the audio is still normal. And I'm not alone in this, it's not OnePlus, it's also I think with Samsung from Tech Tablets. He had the same issue where the audio doesn't sync up with the video. It's weird and I don't know why, but Android 12 does seem to have a lot of issues, and that needs to be addressed soon, because you would expect Google to make better software experience overall. And yes, I know there are skins on of course the Samsungs and the OnePluses and so on, but it's just not only those devices that have skins on top of it. A lot of phones have issues when it comes to Android 12. It's not big issues, but noticeable issues. Overall there are some changes as well when it comes to the fingerprint scanner. For instance, it's much higher now, which I really like. So right there. Previously you had it like a little bit lower, and it just made it that you had to strain your thumb to get to that fingerprint scanner. It made no sense to me. But while we're on the case of the fingerprint scanner, let's talk about the fingerprint scanner type. It's still a 2D one. Instead of course that 3D ultrasonic scanner that we see from Qualcomm. I would have loved to see it on devices like this. It's just better, it works better, it's faster, it has a wider area that it works on and so on. Seriously, we need that to be the standard, because it it's more secure, and it works better than a camera behind the display. Overall, the OnePlus 10 Pro seems like a solid phone. Of course, you do get some great specifications, like getting that new chip, the 8 Gen 1. Of course, you get a 120Hz AMOLED display, and it can go from 1Hz to 120Hz, but of course, most of the time, you won't really notice that difference because it just does that adaptively. So depending on what you are doing, it will increase the speed or lower the speed. So for instance, if you are reading something or whatever, it will slow down those hertz, making, of course, better battery life. Talking about battery life, it's a 5000 mAh battery, and overall the battery life is pretty good. It's not the best out there, but I think overall battery life is solid. But if you do, of course, have your battery on low, you do get a charger included. It's an 80-watt charger that you get included with the phone itself, because they didn't want to make $6 billion of profit by removing it. Sorry, I'm having trouble removing the charger. But they didn't want to make $6 billion in profit, so you don't get the new charging speed, you know, like another company. The real reason why it's being removed and other features as well. Either way, charger included, it can go up to 61% after about 18 minutes, which is really solid. Of course, 61% is a good amount when you are using your phone and you want to quickly just charge it up, because that really does help. So take a shower or whatever and you need to hurry for work or whatever. Having 61% is a pretty solid amount, and then of course you can use it the rest of the day quite easily. So the OnePlus 10 Pro, overall I have to wait and see how it holds up, how it goes when it comes to the camera. Which phone would you like to see it compared to when it comes to the camera? Of course, let me know in the comments below. I am limited in terms of devices, so I have the Xiaomi 12 Pro and of course the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. Let me know if you want to see a comparison between that as well and see how it performs. I did compare, of course, the Xiaomi 12 Pro with the S21 Ultra. Link in the description so you can check it out. And of course, if you do want to see the full review of the OnePlus 10 Pro, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you get a notification when I upload said review. Either way, hope you enjoyed this video of this unboxing and first impressions of the OnePlus 10 Pro.